Hello and welcome to BSB Must Reads, where we share with you all the books we think you must be reading. And I am super excited for CF Frizzell's As Seen on TV. I don't think I've ever seen such a mishmash of genres all in one book. I think you might have set some kind of record there, so I'm excited to read it. CF, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what they can expect from As Seen on TV? Then I'd love to hear you read.
Okay, thank you. I'm CF Frizzell. I live on Cape Cod, lifelong Boston, Massachusetts girl. I tend to bounce back and forth between writing contemporary romance and historical fiction, and this is something completely different. This is As Seen on TV, and it's kind of a combination. It's a combination of paranormal and contemporary romance. It, I guess, basically came out of, I quickly tell people it's because of COVID and our killing time around the house, being housebound to a degree, but probably started, the impetus for it probably started farther back than that, maybe when I retired and spend more time at home, things on TV, and I get addicted to cooking shows and doing meals while my better half worked a little part-time job, and wanting to have a meal on the table when she came home, I get into it. Her pastime, on the other hand, was paranormal shows. And I'd sit on them on occasion when I had the patience. There's so many of them out there, and she had a few favorites that I actually thought were pretty legit, that I could sit through and actually found kind of interesting. And so somehow, I think BSB author Chris Bryant got on my case about putting together something. Well, what do people do during COVID? And I'm thinking, well, I know we're watching this and that, and who would ever stick them together? And then the light bulb went off and said, well, why not try? So what we have here on As Seen on TV is two celebrity TV hosts of their own shows, a laid-back chef, very laid back, and the #1 paranormal investigator on television. And the network has required them to do combination shows, a crossover, actually 3 of them, for their ratings boost. And these two stars are not too happy about it. They're not really interested in each other's genre, but they don't have much choice. So what happens here is they manage to coexist. We have a chef in some very spooky, haunted places, and eventually gets kind of wrapped up in the whole investigation, the paranormal investigations that go on around her. They have her join their team to create period meals using period methods appropriate to the house and the setting when these certain spirits supposedly live there. And it does stimulate or trigger some activity. And what they encounter ends up being a lot more than just the spirits. They realize that they have a lot more in common than they originally thought. So it was fun to write. We'll see. We'll see what you think, but it was fun to write, and I hope you like it. I think I'll give you a sample. This is kind of a synopsis, if you will. It's kind of a mishmash of chapter 2. And this is where the 2 stars meet. We have Ronnie Sharp is our chef, and she's going with her agent, Cheryl, who's also her best friend. to Manhattan from Cape Cod, where she lives, to meet with the paranormal investigator star, Peyton Stanford, who's at the home of her agent, Max. So we have star and agent meeting star and agent for the first time. And this is where they go into the penthouse in Manhattan to meet them. As they entered, a lithe figure with an abundance of untamed blonde curls rose gracefully to face them. She stood cool and collected, sleek in beige slacks and modest heels, striking in a fitted and very flattering coppery sweater. Immediately, Ronnie acknowledged that television didn't do Peyton Stanford justice, even though the smile seemed a bit forced. But she was radiant, with only a slight touch of makeup accenting elegant features, a creamy complexion, and a look Ronnie felt slither down to her toes. Those blue eyes were eerily light and filled with challenge, and they locked onto Ronnie with serious intent. Peyton looked to be as thrilled as Ronnie about this venture, and her less than cordial welcome generated a surprising twinge of disappointment. Ronnie had expected as much professionalism as she had mustered. Peyton, she approached, offering a handshake. Ronnie sharp. Congratulations on another successful season. Great show. Well, greetings to the casual cook on your show, Peyton offered, exuding all the celebrity confidence that Ronnie had predicted. Thanks, and congrats to you as well. I hope you still feel that way after this project. No worries, Ronnie said. She grinned directly into those luminescent eyes. This will be a test for us all, won't it? She stepped back and gestured to Cheryl. Cheryl's your #1 fan. Pleasure to meet you, Miss Stanford, Cheryl said, shaking Peyton's hand. Hi, Cheryl. It's nice to meet you too. And please, it's Peyton. Yes, Max injected. We're definitely on a first name basis here. She offered them seats, and Ronnie chose the opposite end of the couch from Peyton. So, Peyton began heavily, were you as taken back by this concept as I was? She curled a loose wave of hair behind her ear and delivered a quizzical look. Ronnie felt it seize her attention like a hand gripping her chin. She almost shook her head to be free of it. I was pissed for days. A hint of a grin appeared on Peyton's lips, and Ronnie wished she could read her mind. But we're here, aren't we? I mean, come on. Doesn't every ghost show need a cook? Peyton's shoulders stiffened. We investigate the paranormal. Ghost show really isn't accurate. Ronnie raised both palms in concession as Peyton rolled on. But you're correct. Paranormal Pursuit doesn't need a cook. My show doesn't need a cook by any stretch of the imagination. I get it, really. Just like I don't need spirit investigators romping around my kitchen. Peyton took a breath, about to respond, and Ronnie turned to face her more directly. I gather you've tried as hard as I have to nix this stupid idea. With a tip of her head, she attributed blame to agents Cheryl and Max. We're really stuck, aren't we? Peyton sent Max a hardened look. We are. The network knows my concerns about this. I won't allow this premise to crash our ratings, Ronnie. No offense, of course. None taken. We agree on that point. For me, my casual cook is young but successful. Not top dog like Paranormal Pursuit, but inching upward at least, and I don't want it turned into a comedy. No offense. Ronnie was frustrated already, just as irritated by the whole thing as she feared she'd be, and they had just started. Peyton was direct, maybe a bit pompous, but all business and protective when it came to her show. No less defensive than she was. She struggled to see past Peyton's flawless skin, the delicate glide of her cheek as Peyton readied her response. Those captivating looks alone could have made her famous, but a person didn't maintain celebrity status today without serious smarts, especially if she ran around chasing ghosts. Ronnie challenged her through a half smile. Whatever got you into the paranormal business? Too many experiences to ignore. I was in real estate and started having my own encounters. Peyton sipped her wine and sent Ronnie a sideways glance. Residual energy often doesn't appreciate being disturbed, let alone sold to a stranger. Ronnie wondered if she was expected to take notes. Residual energy probably was a thing she'd be hearing a lot. We sold our concept on the first try, Max recalled. The rest, as they say. And you, Miss Casual Cook, are you a foodie at heart? Somehow I can't picture little Veronica hanging off Granny's apron. Peyton couldn't picture it either. The image almost drew a snicker. She pivoted where she sat and tried not to reveal her curiosity, justified though it was. After all, this woman and her shtick were being thrust into paranormal pursuit, and God only knew what that would do to her team's routine, its success, the show's ratings. I'm no foodie, Ronnie said, sharing a grin with Cheryl. I spent quite a few years as a director of a forestry camp for city kids in upstate New York. I learned as much as the kids did, including how to cook. So you mostly do what? A campfire thing? Peyton asked. Like the Girl Scouts? She dreaded the idea of combining such a show with her own. Couldn't imagine how that would fly or how her legions of fans would react. More inside cooking than outside, Ronnie said. But whatever's cooked in the kitchen can be cooked outside, and we prove it often. Nestled back into the couch, Ronnie appeared to be taking all this much too cavalierly. The comfortable posture did look good on her, however. Her eyes were deeply set and extremely dark, and the corners crinkled with mischief that Peyton might have found enticing under different circumstances. Instead, she was irritated that this woman didn't appear half as concerned for the fate of their respective shows. They shared an uncompromising look, and Peyton hoped it was respect she detected. But Ronnie's devil-may-care attitude could be trouble. Maybe it was her light-hearted spark, the watchful eyes, or that roguish grin. Whatever it was, something said Ronnie Sharp could shake things up. So, Ronnie said, do you cook? Peyton chortled. Do you believe in the paranormal? I asked first. No, Peyton said, pursing her lips. I don't cook. Do you believe? No, I don't. Peyton's eyes faded to an impossibly white blue. You don't, at all. Ronnie bit back a grin. Never had reason to. Peyton looked sharply at Max. Oh, now this bodes well, doesn't it? This just might be impossible. She turned back to Ronnie. You've never had a paranormal encounter? Ronnie shook her head. Or an experience of any kind? Ronnie shrugged and a chuckle slipped out. I'm sorry, but no. Peyton waved a hand in futility and slumped deeper into the couch. Jesus Christ. Never seen him either, Ronnie quipped. This isn't a goddamn joke. The white-blue look flared hard and hot. Come on, lighten up a little. Lighten up? Do you even have a clue about our investigations? This isn't going to be some romp in the woods. Oh, please enlighten me, won't you? You have to take my work seriously. I will, I do. Oh, for cripe's sake, Ronnie, for these episodes, you have to be a team player. I realize that, but my main focus will be pleasing my viewers. I'll join your team, but I won't sacrifice them for it. All this is just as vital to my audience base as it is to yours, don't forget. Agreed, Peyton said, but the whole point of your participation is to help stimulate paranormal activity. The whole point is to boost ratings. Yours have leveled off and mine aren't climbing fast enough. If this damn premise is to succeed at all, Ronnie, your involvement with our team has to take priority. Look, Ronnie said on a side, tired of sparring. We have to make some uncomfortable adjustments, and we haven't been given a choice. Well, I'm well aware of what we're obligated to do, but if you're not going into this with an open mind, well, that's a problem. Ronnie could feel Cheryl's anxiety from across the coffee table and reminded herself that she'd promised to play nice. As screwy as this is, we'll make it work. We both know how much is riding on it. Peyton exhaled discreetly. At least they were driven in the same way, appreciated how much was at stake. Despite their differences, they needed to succeed together somehow. And yet, it still was damn hard to imagine this outlandish premise not failing miserably.
I love that. What a great reading.
Thank you.
I don't think it's going to fail miserably. I appreciate the subtle sarcasm in that scene. It takes great talent to have the sarcasm that well. So good job.
Thank you.
I think you've sort of already answered one of the questions I had for you, which is, where did this idea come from? And it's so interesting. I never would have picked that.
I never thought I would either.
So that's so cool. I didn't even know that these types of paranormal shows existed. So you've opened up a whole new world for me.
Oh, there's a ton of them. There are too many of them, actually. And most of them stink.
Okay, so that leads into my new question, which is, like, tell us, what does the show look like, right? Like, what happens in a typical show?
Let's see. There's a team. Peyton has a team of 3 others, and they do. One primarily focuses on research, getting the background of the building, the facility that they're investigating, including family, whatever news articles were published, however far back it goes. And one does a lot of the technical stuff with cameras that they position all around the place, wherever spirits or shadows or encounters technically happen most often. And the other one basically follows her around with a camera because she is the star.
Mm-hmm.
And everything focuses on her and her reaction and their crew members' reactions. Behind them is the overall scene camera following the whole thing. So you see her being photographed by her crew member. You see the whole room. And the finale for this, their third of the 3 crossovers, I set on Halloween on a dark and stormy night.
Of course.
On a bluff overlooking the ocean, Cape Cod, overlooking the Atlantic. This old haunted house, so to speak, goes back to the 1890s. And the different the family members who have inhabited this place throughout that time. But the shows that they do, if it's say it's an asylum, or it used to be a prison, it's long abandoned, and they hear voices, they hear clinking of chains in the prison, or they hear moaning and groaning from different rooms. In our case, we have shadows, we have like a haze that forms like a mist in a room. There are a lot of knocking and tapping, footsteps that don't jive. There's no one there, that sort of thing. And they have these devices, a multitude of scientific, devices, gauges and meters.
Sure.
Electromagnetic energy in the air, sound waves that are inaudible to you and me that are picked up on certain devices.
So how does the cooking fit into this?
A lot of times in these shows, they use what they call trigger objects. For instance, if someone reports, the owners of the property report hearing little children running upstairs when there's never anyone there. Maybe children died in the house, or it was an orphanage or something back in the 20s or in the 1880s. The investigators will bring little teddy bears or balls or toys to kind of stimulate any activity that, it's a shot. Why not? And see if readings and measurements in the room increase, or the ball actually moves, little things. What I've done is used food, the aromas of things. Lots of times they'll walk through a house and they'll smell a cigar or a perfume. bread, chocolate. So I decided to use the chef where possible. And of course, I created places where it's possible. We have a fireplace or a wood burning stove, an electric stove. And she will prepare a meal from that period. Maybe it was the 20s and they had parties in this place. It was a grand hotel once upon a time. She will prepare a meal from that period. So to recreate the atmosphere of what it was like, maybe be familiar to spirits to what come out of the woodwork. Maybe,
it's so wacky, but I love it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
So what kind of research did you have to do for this book in terms of like how a TV show is produced? Because that's not something that, you would kind of know intrinsically.
I think just watching a lot of the shows and all the different types of them. And this applies to, the cooking shows as well. It's more and more of them are done in the homes of chefs. No matter how famous they are, they will take you to their home, and that's part of the big deal. But you see the cameramen all around,
Okay.
And it's the same with these paranormal shows. They'll take you right in with you. You'll see the cameramen in the background. Maybe the hand comes across the camera, or the lighting is wrong, or things go black.
Okay, so that's the reality TV portion of that you get to see those things in action. That's cool. So let's move over to your romance for a minute, and tell us about Ronnie and Peyton and how they fall in love. What is it that that attracts them? Because I think we saw a great example of what they're up against.
Yes.
In your reading. But for the romance lovers out there, tell us what it is that they find attractive in each other.
I think how they appeal to each other, I think, is their own sense of adventure, their own fearlessness, their own independence, competitiveness, kindred spirits, if you will, to use a phrase that's from a ghost show. There's not a lot of, they're not very close in the beginning. And that creates a little bit of difficulty here and there in the show. But I think they're feeling a little bit of sympathy toward each other after a while with certain things that happen, kind of endear themselves to each other, sticking their foot in the wrong place, so to speak, and getting in trouble, being, well, why didn't this happen? Well, what happened to that? And why, what? Well, I didn't do it. Who did? They end up seeing a lot more in common, that they have a lot more in common with each other and helping each other out.
Yeah.
To the point, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You can't, work that closely with someone, right? And not find out about them and help each other.
Especially where Ronnie's in an environment where she's never done this before, and Peyton's pretty aware. Peyton's done it for 6 years on TV. Yeah. And Ronnie's only been on the air for a couple, but never in something like this, totally out of her element. So Peyton realizes that, she has to be a little patient and things do eventually work out.
All right. Well, I'm excited for it. I hear there might be a little bit of peril at the end too.
There is. It's I had to, things have to come to a big climax.
It's Halloween after all, right?
It's Halloween night, and I also decided to make the finale 2 hours, as opposed to the Paranormal Pursuit is on the air usually 1 hour a week. This is a 2-hour special. It's their season finale. And they also decide to go live, which, opens up all the social media, and everything is running on the screens as they're monitoring all the cameras, and they have they can see all the tweets from the audience and Facebook comments, and people searching the different spots on the monitors for activity on their own.
That's so cool.
So meanwhile, our heroes have to be cognizant of what they show the world.
Yeah.
between them. So it's all about what's seen on TV.
You did that on purpose.
I did.
I love it. It's a great title and a great book that will be out October 1st on the Bold Strokes website, October 11 everywhere else books are sold. Thank you so much, CF Frizzell. It has been a pleasure.
It's good to see you. Thank you all very much. Thank you, BSB.